Hello, everybody. Can you guys see me and hear me and see my presentation, which I'm sharing?
Yep. Yeah, we could.
Okay,
Great.
let me just put it on. So yeah, the title of the presentation is PhD right for me? And I think that as a PhD student, as a current enrolled PhD student, I can offer some advice, telling you how your day-to-day life is going to be like, and what can you expect, what will a good outcome for you be, things of that nature. So let's just jump right into it. Um, what does the PhD program look like? Well, it depends on which faculty you're from. But if we're talking about social science faculties, those without any wet labs, your first and second year will most likely be coursework. You will be in your knees with difficult coursework, um, aimed to equip you with the tools that you need to finish your dissertation. So we ended up taking between 3 and 4 courses each semester, between 15 to 20 hours weekly preparation. So it becomes a full-time job and then some. Um, I like to think of that period as your incubation period. Your grades are not very important, but this is a good time for you to experiment, to fail, to make friends, um, realize the type of topics that you're interested in, realize the type of people that you would like to work with, and so on. Um, then in the first summer, between year 1 and 2, you will, in most departments, expect to have a summer paper. You will have a summer paper advisor guiding you through it, and the aim is to have as closely related as a mini dissertation as you could. Just write as good as of a paper as you can. Second year is usually more advanced core courses, followed by a qualifying exam. This qualifying exam, again, changes in each department, but it's supposed to make sure that you know all your theories and empirical methodologies in your department. Once you pass that, congratulations, you are a PhD candidate, and the real work begins. We are now at the beginning of year 3. We also enter the second phase of your program, starting at year 3 until your penultimate year, until the near end. Um, from my observation of myself and my friends, we spend 90% of the time devoting ourselves to research. There are other activities available, like teaching experience, attending seminar. Some people have invigilation work, stuff like that, which in my case take up about 10% of my time. But I guess each person is different. And I've been receiving phone calls every single year since I started the program from prospecting PhD students asking how will my life be? What will the PhD look like? And one thing people do not know, I found, is their day-to-day. How literally you wake up and then you do what until the day is over. So I just want to focus a little bit on that for a minute. I stare at my laptop every day, all day, and sometimes I read hard copy papers. I work alone, either from my home, now especially with COVID-19, or I work in my office. We have a PhD office space where I interact with my friends and colleagues. I don't mean to say that we're antisocial or anything. We're actually very social, but the work itself is mostly solo in my department. And we have co-authorships where we go back and forth, and I'll reach that in a minute. I then send my outputs, which can be statistical analysis in terms of results, writing, pitches for new ideas to my advisor or any of my co-authors and see how they respond. They usually write back, ask me to do more things, ask me to strike this, change that, etc. I make a very strong effort to meet my advisor every single week. I chase him if I need to, um, and make sure that I'm on top of my ongoing tasks. That's my time to see if I'm going in the right direction. And I also talk to him about any personal matter, career development goals. I pitch new project to him, see how he, pick his interest, stuff like that. And again, you might be much more involved with experiments, so you might go to a lab every single day, or you might attend way more conferences than I do to present your research. But a PhD is a dissertation that you yourself are in charge of at the end of the day. I strongly encourage any one of you, who are in the PhD program to treat it like a job, a full-time job with over hours, work hard, follow a routine that suits you, and make long-term goals and short-term goals for yourself that befits you. In the third phase, that will be the last year, and this dramatically changes between department to department. So I can only talk about social sciences and business school for this. We usually finish our dissertation in year 5. Some people do it in 4, some people do it in 6. And the last year is a year where you go on the market, so to speak. This just means that you look for a job. Most business school department and some social science departments are very lucky in the sense that we are immediately eligible for tenure track positions. Yes, indeed, after 5 months in the program, you go to a tenure track position at whatever university that is willing to have you. No postdoc necessary. I know that it's dramatically different from other fields. And critically, when you are on the market, you must have an almost ready dissertation. Not quite ready yet, but enough that once you get a job, you can immediately write it down and finish by the time your job starts. One chapter of your dissertation becomes your job market talk. That is the talk that you give in seminars. That's the paper from which you will get a job. It's a very important paper. Most people have a solo authored paper, but it's not mandatory. And this will be the paper that you will be presenting to schools and be judged by. How should I know if I should do a PhD? That's $1 million question, and I really can't answer this for you. But if I were you, and I was you a few years ago, I would ask myself 3 questions. First of all, ask these questions yourself and talk to professors. And remember that the main trade-off that you're thinking about is the time spent in the program. It's going to take 4 or 5 years of your life. You will not be able to, you will mostly dedicate your life for the PhD. So it has to be worth it and take you to a place that you were otherwise unable to go. I think the first and foremost question is just, do I like school? It's not a trivial question. I know that everyone here went to university. Most of you, I assume, did very, very well, but you're going to have to ask yourself if you like it or you're just good at it. Do you enjoy going to school, thinking about questions? Do you enjoy research? Did you take any honors, or did you write an undergraduate dissertation or anything like that? Did you apply yourself in school, and would you like to continue to do so in the future? Are you going to be productive and happy in this environment is the second question. Again, not trivial. You will spend the next 30-something years of your life in an R&D environment, a university, a think tank, what have you. These environments are quite similar. They're flat. They are entrepreneurial. They are rigorous. You're going to spend decades there. So it's good to ask yourself if you're going to thrive in this type of environment. I guess one of the key concerns is, are you self-motivated? Thirdly, ask yourself, what are your goals? Look at other students' placements in that program, in that department, and imagine that you're going to be somewhere in the average, maybe one standard deviation in each direction, but relatively speaking there. Will you be happy with this result? Will you be happy with this type of position in this kind of country? And if the answer is yes, then it's a really strong indication that you are a fit for a PhD. Then just my basic subjective observation of what I consider successful faculty in the last 4 years, which became successful faculties because by definition they were successful PhDs before that. There seemed to be an enormous correlation between being successful in academia and being happy as an academic, or at least appearing as happy, because I don't know how they actually feel. There's a lot of commonality among all the successful people that I know, even if they're from different fields. They all seem to really like doing research. They work very hard at it, and they're very curious the type of questions that they come up with. They are internally motivated to answer them. They like research so much that they maximize research time above all else, above teaching, above service, above anything else, they genuinely just want to do more and more research if they could. A lot of them, think back of those times when they were a PhD and 90% of their time was devoted to research, and they envy me. So if you genuinely want to do research, getting a PhD is probably the easiest and safest way to ensure that you will be in a research producing field for the rest of your life. If what you want to do is research, there's no better place in academia for it. You just got to make sure that this is what you want to do, because that's what you will end up doing, and that's how you will be judged for your career. I prepared just 3 resources. I can give you much more, but I figured that if I give too much, no one will read anything. So I just posted stuff that I read in the last couple of years. Admittedly, they're more geared towards social science, business type people, but I think especially number 2 will be befitting to anyone who's writing anything related to a PhD thesis. And the other 2 are just a very good read, so I recommend them both.
Thank you very much, Ofir.
That's what I have for you.
There is a few questions for you before we end. I think some of them can be answered at the booth, so I will only highlight those questions that perhaps you could answer. One question is, what advice do you have for applicants with poor results for their bachelor's but good grades for their master's? I understand that NUS places a lot of emphasis on grades, so I would just like an objective answer as to whether my PhD goals are dashed.
Oh, it's a really good question. I also understood that the school puts a strong emphasis on grades, although GRE and TOEFL matter just as much as the rest of the grades. So I would put a strong emphasis on those. And I just want to remind you that once you are in the program, grades stop mattering altogether. No one cares if you got A+, A, B, or B minus, as long as you finished your qualifying exam. So if you're not satisfied with your undergraduate grades, I would try to find a way to demonstrate research interests, and specifically ability to ask interesting questions. I think most faculty will agree that that is far, far more interesting than just simply being a good student.
Okay, then I think there's another question about I'm interested in one research center in NUS and wondering what is the relationship between this center and NUS. But I think the question was very vague, so I will not ask this question.
Okay.
Perhaps there's one question is, how do you balance your PhD and normal life during your 5 years? Is it possible to do that? I think there's a very interesting question.
It is, and it's something that I struggle with. Throughout the PhD, I got married, I have kids now. So life is dynamic, and they go on no matter what. To me, the fact that I draw an enormous level of support from my family, both my family in Israel and my current new family here. I find that they empower me to work hard. I want to do right by them now. So that's where a lot of the balance comes from. And I guess routine. I cannot overstate how important having a healthy routine where you wake up at a certain time of the day. And I even write myself bullet points of what I should do today, and I try to complete them. And if I don't, I do it the next day. So really try to treat it like a job.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think for the rest, you can go to the booth and you will be able to find answers. And if not, go to the help desk. Most of these answers can be found in the help desk. Thank you very much, Ofir.
Thank you, guys.